Florida's housing crisis is so bad, people are actually living here. With the skyrocketing costs and limited options, people are choosing the most unexpected solutions, like moving into a Macy's. Malls that were once packed with shoppers and now can barely keep the doors open are serving a whole new purpose, right here in Florida and across the country. It's a wild shift in one of the most surprising ways people are dealing with the housing crisis. I'll show you exactly what's going on. It's gonna blow your mind. Let's go. Back in the day, malls weren't just places people went to shop. They were where people went to hang out, go to the movies, or go on dates. But today, many of those same malls are in big trouble as vacancy rates hit 11% in 2024, and it's only getting worse. In Florida, retail vacancies are rising faster than most states, leaving developers scrambling to find ways to repurpose these spaces. Projections suggest that 87% of large shopping malls could close in the next decade. And now, a lot of the malls that aren't bringing in shoppers are losing their anchor stores like Macy's and Dillard's. And without those big names, the smaller stores can't survive. Not to mention, during the pandemic, it forced more people to shop online. So you got malls across the country closing up shop. Here's the twist, and here's where it gets more interesting. Developers aren't just letting this empty space go to waste. They're flipping them into apartments or condos. Think about it. Malls are already in prime locations with huge parking lots, utilities, and plenty of square footage to work with. And Florida has a massive housing shortage, and these malls could be the solution. And projects like South Place City Center in Homestead are paving the way, transforming an old mall into a vibrant community with over 4,000 apartments, 500,000 square feet of retail, restaurants, and parks, and even a 150-room hotel. But these redevelopment projects are not cheap. This one alone is going to cost over $1 billion. So just think about how cool this would be. You're bored on a Sunday, so you take the elevator down to the mall. You head into Lulu to browse around or just do a little shopping. Then you grab a coffee at Starbucks and just chill out here on a bench to do a little people watching before heading over to your favorite restaurant for a little dinner and some conversation with your neighbors that happen to be sitting up at the bar. And this just isn't happening in Florida. Check out this mall in Providence, Rhode Island.
So welcome to the teeny tiny shoebox apartment inside the arcade. There are lots of others in the building just like this. So mine is about 250 square feet. There's a walkway right in front of the facade because this used to be a shop front, and so people had to access all of the shops in the building. 250 square feet is tiny, but this might be a great idea for a single or elderly person that's looking to downsize.
Amy Hinion has been living on the top floor of a 3-story mall in Providence, Rhode Island for the past 2.5 years.
What's it like to live at the mall?
It's really great. It's cool to be part of such a historic building and knowing that every single one of these units used to be a shop of some kind. Here is my very tiny kitchen. It is very small, but it is workable. And one of the interesting things about the units in the building is that because of codes, you can't have any cooking devices with an open flame. So none of the units have stoves or ranges.
Okay, no stove is a no-go for me. My wife and I try to eat healthy and we cook every day. I'd be downstairs in the mall spending about $100 a day on those restaurants. No bueno.
You definitely feel like you're part of the community more so than if you were just in a standard apartment building. It has been interesting with people trying to unlock my door, thinking that this is an Airbnb apartment.
I love that community vibe. You'd get to know everybody in the mall and you'd be able to make friends pretty fast. And that's a great thing about Florida. Nobody's from here, so everybody's looking to make a new friend. And that's a big deal when you're moving to a new city. But I think this next mall would be more my speed. And it's in Miami. Check it out.
I did not know that my building had a door to the mall when I sent in my application, but it was the best discovery in the entire world. It is now my absolute favorite feature of my apartment. And whenever anyone comes to visit me, it's sort of my party trick to show them what my backyard is, which is an entire mall, which is so cool. And it honestly gives me so much entertainment and joy every single day.
Rollerblading through the mall, taking your friends on a shopping tour downstairs at your own personal mall. I can dig that. But are all these mall conversions solving the housing affordability crisis in Florida? The answer is no. Developers are spending big money to buy these properties and to turn them into something new. which means they're taking on huge amounts of risk. So they need to be rewarded with higher returns on their investments. In order to do that, they're making these apartments more upscale to cater to higher end renters, which means higher price points. So here's how much it would cost us to live in the Miami Mall.
My name is Rachel Kogan. I'm 34 years old. I live in Miami, Florida, above a mall called Brickell City Center, and I pay $4,150 per month in rent.
I know what you're thinking, dude, $4,150 for a 1-bed, 1.5-bath apartment? But you gotta remember, you're living on top of a luxury mall in one of the coolest cities on the planet. If you can afford it, it looks like a pretty incredible experience. But here's 5 things that concern me right off the bat. She's gonna end up paying $50,000 a year in rent. After 10 years of living here, she'd spend around $500,000 in rent alone. And that doesn't include any rent increases. Now that's a lot of cash to spend and have nothing to show for it. Number 2, what's the total move-in cost?
I paid 2 security deposits that were each equivalent to 1 month of rent, which was $3,350. One was for the building and one was for the owner of the apartment.
That's one thing a lot of people forget. A lot of these luxury apartments come with heavy move-in costs like security deposits. It's gonna cost you a little bit of cash to move in. Number 3 is if I lived above a mall, I'd be down there shopping every day. I just know me, especially if they got a Viore store. It'd be game on. So I'd have to plan for my expenses to go up about $1,000 a month. Number 4, where am I gonna park? We all know how huge these mall parking lots are. If I'm coming home from the grocery store, do I gotta walk a mile to my apartment? I hope not. And number 5, if parking does suck, put the grocery store right here in the mall. That would be the best idea and make it super convenient. When I lived in downtown St. Pete, we had a Publix right across the street from our apartment building. We didn't have to spend hours shopping for the week. We'd pop in, grab what we needed for dinner, and then pop out. I do give these developers a lot of credit for having the vision to take these dead malls and give them a second life as vibrant mixed-use communities. Of course, converting a mall into housing is not easy. One of the biggest challenges? Design. Imagine trying to retrofit a giant boxy mall and turning Macy's department store into apartments. The units in the middle of the building wouldn't even have windows. Only the ones on the outer walls would get any daylight. It'd feel like living in a giant prison, and let's be honest, nobody wants that. Every apartment needs a window, and malls weren't built to house people, so developers have to fight with cities to get the rules changed. And cities don't move fast when it comes to issuing permits or changing zoning laws, which can cost developers thousands of dollars in lost time. And don't forget about all those hidden problems behind those walls. These old department stores weren't designed to handle 400 bathrooms and kitchens. That means running all new plumbing, electrical, and HVAC systems to each unit, which isn't cheap. It costs a fortune to get everything up to code so that people can live in it. So in a lot of cases, it makes more sense to tear down the giant Macy's and replace it with a brand new luxury apartment building that's still connected to the mall. But here's why it works. When it's done right, living in a converted mall has its perks. Imagine waking up with shops, restaurants, and parks just steps away. It's super convenient and creates a built-in community. Plus, reusing mall structures is more sustainable than building new housing from scratch. When I lived downtown, one of the coolest things was stepping out of our apartment building and being right in the mix. Great restaurants, shops, coffee bars, all just steps away. The whole city felt alive, and being part of that energy was just amazing. There was always something to do, and this high-end mall experience is going to be the same thing. Florida's housing crisis needs creative solutions, and this mall conversion trend could be part of the answer. So if you're thinking about moving to Florida, don't just look at traditional neighborhoods. These projects are popping up all over, and they might just be the future of housing in the Sunshine State. It's proof that even in tough times, innovation can turn things around. Here's how I see it. I'd actually have no problem renting an apartment that's attached to a mall. I actually think it'd be a really cool experience. And life's all about experiences, right? I'd probably rent it for a few years, enjoy the convenience and the vibe, but I'd always keep in mind the bigger picture. Eventually, I'd want to buy a home and start building equity. Now, as far as buying a condo in the mall, that's a no-go for me. If the mall shuts down, the value of that condo is going to likely tank. And I'm not about to take that risk. It just wouldn't be worth it. Let's face it, we all know that Florida's housing market is in pretty rough shape right now. This state could face an even bigger housing mess that could take us the next 10 years to dig out of. Click on this next video to see why this has to change in Florida's housing market and how this new style of building is the key to making it happen. I'll see you there.